Good day to everyone. Today's topic is Baldur's Gate 3 versus Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous. What's better? They're both cRPGs. One was made from Larian and the other one from Owlcat. Let's not waste time. Let's go. So, the first thing that we need to compare is the time in development, the early access versions, as well as full versions for both games. Wrath of the Righteous was from 2021, so it's already 2 years old game, while Baldur's Gate 3 is nearly 2 months old now. So, Wrath of the Righteous is a slightly older game. But if we compare how much they were in development, that we played Baldur's Gate 3 for 3 full years in early access, while Wrath of the Righteous only took a few months in early access, we can come to conclusion that Wrath of the Righteous was actually faster. Owlcat was faster in releasing Wrath of the Righteous, while Larian took ages for Baldur's Gate 3, and the game, let's be real, was completely unfinished compared to Wrath of the Righteous that was actually finished. I'm comparing vanilla versions. God forbid I compare Enhanced Edition of Wrath of the Righteous to Baldur's Gate 3. Now, that would be the comparison of two companies, okay? Owlcat versus Larian, how long it took. Now, let's speak about the story, about the writing, and about presentation. The very first thing that we need to speak about is the approach. Larian always has that light comedy approach. Alright, in all of their games, and Baldur's Gate 3 is actually Divinity Original Sin 3 with Baldur's Gate name, so they can sell the game better. Very good marketing move, but in return, they butchered Baldur's Gate franchise. They took a shit on Baldur's Gate 1 and 2. They removed all great features, they removed the seriousness of the game, they removed the darkness, they removed everything, okay? And they made a light comedy out of Baldur's Gate 3. While in return, Wrath of the Righteous is a far more serious game. For example, you have a joke in Baldur's Gate 3 on every minute, while you have a joke in Wrath of the Righteous on every 3 hours. That's a huge difference. Wrath of the Righteous has more serious writing, but quality goes to Baldur's Gate 3 because, hey, more money equals better quality. Baldur's Gate 3 is something like a Netflix version for a video game where they pay attention to what's outside so that it shines, okay? You can see money, it shines in the outside, but Baldur's Gate 3 is rotten in the inside. While in the case of Wrath of the Righteous, it doesn't shine outside, but it has a soul inside. So those two are completely different approach, different amount of money, okay? Quality goes to Baldur's Gate 3, but you know, everything that's actually great in writing and in story and in the approach and in choices and consequences and everything that you can imagine, it goes to Wrath of the Righteous. Now, shall we talk about sexual aggression of Baldur's Gate 3, where every companion wants to fuck your main character, get in your pants, and you know how it goes in Baldur's Gate 3. And now I've seen a lot of stupid comments, okay, how Wrath of the Righteous is as woke as Baldur's Gate 3 is. No, it's not. You can talk about it for days, but it's not. Be realistic. Len can only be romanced in Wrath of the Righteous by a female character. Social can only be romanced by a male character. Camellia can only be romanced by a male character. While in Baldur's Gate 3, everyone can get romanced by anyone, okay? It doesn't matter if you are a dwarf, female with a beard, you can romance no matter what companion, okay? The game is completely woke in writing and in romance options. There is a limit in Wrath of the Righteous, okay? Not to mention that you can romance everything in Baldur's Gate 3 with disgusting conversations, okay? While in Wrath of the Righteous, you got characters that are completely asexual, okay? There's Rigel, for example, in Wrath of the Righteous, your companion, or Greyboar. They wanna make war, okay? They wanna fight. You cannot romance them. They're Social's brother as well. They want to fight. They're there to fight the demons. They know what they're there for, okay? They don't wanna get in your pants. So Wrath of the Righteous does it 10 times better. There is no discussion anymore, okay? Because I've really seen a lot of comments how it's the same. It's not the same. Baldur's Gate 3 is a 100% woke game. Wrath of the Righteous is 1% woke game, okay? So that's a huge difference. There's 100 times bigger difference of how much more irritating Baldur's Gate 3 is compared to Wrath of the Righteous. Do I need to say how you cannot stop companions on forcing on you through the entire game, while you can easily stop every companion in less than a second in Wrath of the Righteous, and they never repeat the mistake again. And I gotta stress this out again. Companions have feelings in Wrath of the Righteous, okay? They know what they like and they know what they dislike. In Baldur's Gate 3, they like everything and everyone, which is completely impossible, judging by real life, that there is no person that likes everything in real life. But in Baldur's Gate 3, everyone likes everything. Now I hope I made myself clear on that topic. And now for the last thing that we need to discuss in the story is presentation. Wrath of the Righteous is more like a book, while Baldur's Gate 3 is more like a movie. With a lot of cutscenes, you can smell money in Baldur's Gate 3, because there's a lot of money in Baldur's Gate 3, and everything went into that wokeism, okay, into the fleshy cutscenes and so on. But unfortunately doesn't transfer to the game. In Wrath of the Righteous is different, everything went into gameplay, but cinematics, you can only imagine them through reading conversations and the events and so on. You can get a feeling what's happening, it's like reading a book. So it's more like a classic cRPG with Wrath of the Righteous, while Baldur's Gate 3 is more like a movie made for casual audience. Those that never got to play a cRPG, they'll glorify Baldur's Gate 3. But truth to be told, Baldur's Gate 3 is one of the weaker cRPGs, okay? Baldur's Gate 3 does everything well, but fails completely in all cRPG elements. So now it's time to judge what's better in story and in presentation. In my personal case, cause I want my brain cells to remain clear, I would put Wrath of the Righteous as the better game. But on the other side, you got quality on Baldur's Gate 3 side. Again, because there are different people with different opinions, as well as I have my own opinion. I would call them objectively equal. Okay, one is keeping things real, the other one is all the way up Netflix media agendas. Okay, you pick what you like more now. I got my winner, but objectively, I would say it's 1-1 now, they're equal. Now, let's speak about game bugs and optimization. Wrath of the Righteous is a far bigger game that works better, even in early access, even in its vanilla state, while Baldur's Gate 3 is a unfinished game that gets worse and worse with worse and worse performance the more you move on. There is the bottleneck in Wrath of the Righteous that's called Alushinira in Act 4. Completely abysmal performance. But trust me, you love performance in Alushinira in Wrath of the Righteous when you see how bad it can get with 15 to 20 frames in Act 3 of Baldur's Gate 3 once you reach Lower City. Where Wrath of the Righteous also wins the case here is the loading screens. Faster loading screens than abysmal 10 million years loading screens on SSD on Baldur's Gate 3. Wrath of the Righteous is a clear winner, it wastes your time less. Where does Wrath of the Righteous also win? My PC, I could fry an egg while playing Baldur's Gate 3. I could fry an egg on my desktop, that's how hot it was. It was impossible, man, the game was overheating my entire PC. Wrath of the Righteous was overheating my PC only na Lushinira, but it remained only lukewarm during the entire run, so it's a better optimized game. In this case, with game bugs and optimization, Wrath of the Righteous wins. 2-1 for Wrath of the Righteous. Now we can speak about game time. It took me 170 hours to 100% my run in Baldur's Gate 3, while it took me 400 hours to 100% my run in Wrath of the Righteous. Wrath of the Righteous is over 2 times bigger than Baldur's Gate 3, with better replay value, far better replay value than Baldur's Gate 3. With more choices, with more consequences. What does Baldur's Gate 3 have with choices and consequences? More different endings with, let's say, bigger quality cinematics, but the real options are in Wrath of the Righteous. These are imaginative options in Baldur's Gate 3, okay? Well, these are real options and real choices and consequences in Wrath of the Righteous. Anyways, Wrath of the Righteous is like over 2 times bigger than Baldur's Gate 3 with better replay value, hence it's 3-1 for Wrath of the Righteous. Now we can speak about the game difficulty. Baldur's Gate 3 is one of the easiest cRPGs ever created. It was made for casual audience, even on tactician difficulty, and there's only 3 difficulties to pick from, so even on tactician difficulty, the game is brain dead. AI is brain dead, the game is completely broken, it's out of balance, okay? And it's out of balance on the wrong side, it's mega easy out of balance, not mega hard out of balance, mega easy out of balance. And now comes also the part with combat and so on. Wrath of the Righteous just got 10 times better combat with more challenge. Even the puzzles in Wrath of the Righteous are harder to resolve. It takes more brain cells to resolve puzzles in Wrath of the Righteous than it actually takes to resolve puzzles with Baldur's Gate 3, okay? Like, it's a fact. So it's not only the combat that's better in Wrath of the Righteous and the AI. Also, the amount of difficulty options in Wrath of the Righteous. You got 7 or 8 plus the manual difficulty option for every difficulty, okay? It's like 50-60 options compared to only 3 options in Baldur's Gate 3. Just there is nothing to discuss anymore. It's 4-1 for Wrath of the Righteous. It's a far better game in terms of difficulty. Why? Everyone can play Baldur's Gate 3, and those of us that actually require some challenge, something to keep us playing in Baldur's Gate 3, we won't get fed, okay? We're still hungry, because the game is brain dead, stupid, mega easy, made for casual audience. It's probably the first game that you should ever play for a cRPG, Baldur's Gate 3. While Wrath of the Righteous, it offers everything to a player. Everything, okay? You're a casual, you can play on a story mod. I wanna play on unfair, it's there. I'm gonna suffer for the next 600 hours to finish the game. So, 4-1 for Wrath of the Righteous. The next section that we need to speak about is maps and graphics. Far better map variety in Wrath of the Righteous, while graphics go to Baldur's Gate 3. Baldur's Gate 3 is the best looking cRPG in a video gaming history. But Baldur's Gate 3 is lacking in map variety. It really lacks in map variety, to be honest. Why do I say so? Very simple. If you played Wrath of the Righteous, you got the city Kenabres. You got the same thing in Baldur's Gate 3 as well with Baldur's Gate in Act 3. Alright. Then, after Kenabres, you get graveyards. You get, I don't know what, hell. You get the Abyss. Okay, you get dungeons. Plenty of dungeons. Pyramid-like dungeons. Classic cave-like dungeons and so on. In Baldur's Gate 3, Everything is some mini maps, okay, and there is one classic dungeon in the entire game, and that would be Shar's Temple in Act 2, and perhaps the mini version of House of Hope in Act 3, and let's say the most impressive part in the entire game, that would be the Underdark. But at the end of the day, once you put them on a scale, alright, map variety definitely goes to Wrath of the Righteous. First of all, it's 2 times bigger game, of course it's gonna have a bigger map variety. 3 acts in Baldur's Gate 3 versus 6 acts in Wrath of the Righteous. What's also better in Wrath of the Righteous is the user interface. User interface in Baldur's Gate 3 is abysmal, to be honest, as well as the worst journal ever. Worst quest journal ever created, always belonged to Larian, and they just solidified my opinion with Baldur's Gate 3. At the end of the day, it depends what you want. If you want graphics, you'll side with Baldur's Gate 3. If you want map variety, you'll side with Wrath of the Righteous. At the end of the day, objectively speaking, graphics are not that important in a cRPG. You want to play a game with graphics, you won't even play cRPGs, you're gonna play something else. You're gonna play first or third person action RPGs, specifically made for consoles, if you wanna see graphics, like God of War. Right? So I would say that Wrath of the Righteous wins in maps and graphics. For me personally, maps are more important than graphics in cRPGs. 5-1 for Wrath of the Righteous. And now comes the most important part, the gameplay. We got turn-based only in Baldur's Gate, and it should have been real-time, Larian, because you forgot that Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 were real-time with pauses. A complete blasphemy, because Baldur's Gate 3 is actually Divinity Original Sin 3, so only turn-based. Well, Wrath of the Righteous has both turn-based and real-time with pauses, which is absolutely amazing, by the way. The real way to play a cRPG is real-time with pauses, not turn-based. Turn-based is for casual playing, where you learn how to play the game. Real-time is the real deal. End of story. Now comes the part in gameplay with the knowledge you need to play the Wrath of the Righteous versus the knowledge you need to play Baldur's Gate 3. Baldur's Gate 3, you can easily finish the game with cantrips only on Tactician, while in Wrath of the Righteous you need to prepare. You need to pay attention on what potions you have, what potions you drink, what scrolls you save for later, what scrolls you use now, how you accumulate money, where does the money go to, how will you deal with companions. There's also feelings of companions, whether they're lawful evil, chaotic good, chaotic evil. There's none of that in Baldur's Gate 3. Nothing. Okay. It's simplified as it gets. It reminds me on Dragon Age Inquisition, man. That's how stupefied it is in Baldur's Gate 3, as far as gameplay goes. So you need to pay attention on 20 different things during gameplay in Wrath of the Righteous. I don't want to get into specific details, but trust me, over 20 different things you need to know the game. While Baldur's Gate 3, you can start playing without knowing a single thing about cRPGs, and you're gonna get used to it. A lot of people compared, with the difficulties with the gameplay, that they sided with Baldur's Gate 3 because I don't know why. They probably love Divinity Original Sin, which is fine, but Baldur's Gate 3 is not even Divinity Original Sin. It's some abomination of Divinity Original Sin. A stupefied version of Divinity Original Sin. It's more an agenda than Divinity Original Sin. You gotta realize those things. Every single element in gameplay, in terms of gameplay, is done better in Wrath of the Righteous. The only thing that you can say they're equal, Baldur's Gate 3 and Wrath of the Righteous, would be exploration. That's the only equality that they can get. Everything else goes to Wrath of the Righteous, every single element that exists. 6-1 for Wrath of the Righteous. NPCs and enemies now. A lot of people said, oh, there's only demons in Wrath of the Righteous, and there's bigger enemy variety in Baldur's Gate 3. You got mimics in Baldur's Gate 3, you got mimics in Wrath of the Righteous, so it's not only demons. You got goblins in Baldur's Gate 3, you got goblins in Wrath of the Righteous. So it's not only demons. Speaking about demons, there are 20 different types of demons in Wrath of the Righteous, while there's only few type of demons in Baldur's Gate 3. What else you wanna talk about? Other enemies, you got spiders in Wrath of the Righteous. A lot of spiders, a lot of insects, you got worms, snakes, I don't know what, mosquitoes. Every single type, undead, ghosts, specters, wraiths. I can talk for days. You got dragons. A lot of dragons, by the way. You only got one dragon in Baldur's Gate 3. You got a lot of dragons in Wrath of the Righteous. You got giants. You got human enemies. Other race enemies, okay? So it's not only demons. People that say there's only demons in Wrath of the Righteous, they're just unrealistic. There's bigger enemy variety in Wrath of the Righteous than in Baldur's Gate 3. Just bigger enemy variety because the game is 2 times the size of Baldur's Gate 3. Do you realize what's 2 times the size of Baldur's Gate 3? I would say that you got at least 2 times the size of enemy variety in Wrath of the Righteous. Now you see only demons. Why you see only demons? Okay, the stupid narrative how Wrath of the Righteous has only demons. First of all, you're in war with demons, and that's why the biggest amount of enemies are demons, okay? They occupy like 60% of the game, but 60% of demons in a 400 hours game, you know, leaves us with around 150 to 170 hours with all other enemy types. And that's how long Baldur's Gate 3 is, 150 to 170 hours for a completionist, okay? So, it goes down the toilet. The narrative, how Baldur's Gate 3 has bigger enemy variety. Down the toilet, man. Now there all comes apart with boss fights. You really wanna speak about boss fights in Wrath of the Righteous versus the boss fights in Baldur's Gate 3. What are the bosses in Baldur's Gate 3? Do you even know? Because I do. The only real bosses are Keterik Thorn, Orin, Sarajevo Kenchev, Raphael, Ortash, and Netherbrain. There will be 6 of them. Main bosses. In Wrath of the Righteous, there's 6 main bosses in first 2 acts. And there's 4 acts left. What drugs are people snorting if they believe that Baldur's Gate 3 has more boss fights than Wrath of the Righteous? For real? Did you forget about the Skari, Baphomet, Nocticula, the entire hell, dragons, the amount of dragons in Wrath of the Righteous, Minyago, I don't know what else. Holy shit, don't make me speak about Dresden, about the ghoul pool and everything that goes with it. Then all of those dungeons. Then the Enigma boss fight, man. Oh, and the final boss, and how freaking hard it is. You don't wanna discuss variety and boss variety with Baldur's Gate 3 versus Wrath of the Righteous, because Wrath of the Righteous absolutely stumps Baldur's Gate 3. It's not even a comparison anymore. And the last thing that remains is NPCs and memorable NPCs. A lot of people will now say how Baldur's Gate 3 has more memorable NPCs in the game. Yes, because they're disgusting. Because they're vogue as they can get. They're disgusting. I get nightmares out of Baldur's Gate 3, okay? Do you know that Halsing can transform into a bear and get in your pets? I found out recently. I never seen it though. But I found out recently I was even more disgusted than I used to be. Well, dancing like ballerina. Not a single straight relation from Act 1 till the end of the game, Act 3 in Baldur's Gate 3. Not a single one. There is one only. Only one, and it's completely dysfunctional relation. Good job for the agenda, Larian. Good job. And there's a lot of more agendas as well. Okay, migrants, refugees in specific. If you don't know on what planet you live on, you won't connect real world to Baldur's Gate 3, but I do. Now, aside from that, in Wrath of the Righteous, there's plenty of NPCs, memorable NPCs as well. Do you know about Nocticula, about Descari, about, I don't know, 15 companions? Because you only get 7 or 8 companions in Baldur's Gate 3, where you get 15 in Wrath of the Righteous. Again, 2 times the size, because it's 2 times bigger game, Wrath of the Righteous compared to Baldur's Gate 3. Then you get the Storyteller. Then you get the Archangel. Then you get all of the gods in Wrath of the Righteous as well. Okay, whether it's good ones or bad ones, you get nothing in Baldur's Gate 3 in return, in comparison. There is nothing to talk about anymore. 7-1 for Wrath of the Righteous. The next section would be leveling and itemization. Do we need to speak about it? Mega casual game with Baldur's Gate 3, with mega complex game with Wrath of the Righteous. What do you want me to say? Do we need to speak about this? I've seen a lot of people, they don't know a thing, okay? They comment like, oh, you never tested multi-classing in Baldur's Gate 3, that's where the leveling is. You are a casual player. I never tested multi-class, I tested it out, I never played online during streams with multi-classing, because it doesn't change a thing. The game is way too easy and there is no need to multi-class. Okay, that's why I never did it. Because it's brain dead, you just click next, next, next. That's the leveling in Baldur's Gate 3. Next, next, next. Pick a feat on every 3 or 4 levels. Next, next, next. Come on. Character creation screen in Wrath of the Righteous is more complex than all 12 levels in Baldur's Gate 3. It's more complex. Character creation screen is more complex. I swear to God it is. Do you really want me to speak about multi-classing now? Wrath of the Righteous versus Baldur's Gate 3. Come on. There's 40 levels in Wrath of the Righteous. 40. Options to multi-class are limitless, okay? There's like thousands of options. Thousands. Compared to few dozen in Baldur's Gate 3. Don't make me laugh. People just don't know what they speak about when they compare stuff. Same goes with spells. 10 times bigger amount of spells in Wrath of the Righteous. 10 times. Way much more items. Useful items, by the way. Not garbage. Useful items. What is the difference in itemization? Items, swords, weapons, armor, so on, gloves, boots, and whatnot in both games, but there is a huge difference. Baldur's Gate 3 drops rotten bananas, rotten apples, forks, tables, spoons, I don't know what, knives, and all manner of garbage in your face. Well, Wrath of the Righteous doesn't do that. Even when you find some garbage, it's usually worth a lot to sell. Speaking about selling, there is no need to trade in Baldur's Gate 3. You can steal everything. Everything. That's how brain dead the AI is, and basically the game. You can steal every single item. You don't need money. In Wrath of the Righteous, you need to think what you're gonna sell, what you'll trade. Will you buy a scroll, a potion, or a weapon? You need to think. You need to organize, you need to plan for 50 hours ahead how you want to spend your resources. Then comes the kingdom, okay, the management, conquering territories in Wrath of the Righteous, army battles, events where you get to rule the entire area, okay, where they come with their own personal agendas, where you build the army, the castle, I don't know what, there's like 1 million things to do in Wrath of the Righteous, man, as far as management goes. What do you do with that management in Baldur's Gate 3? Do you know what you do in Baldur's Gate 3? You are defending your ass from your companions because they wanna fuck you, all of them, when you are resting. That's what you do, man. A cinematic, and then someone approaches and says, oh, I would get in your pants now. There's nothing in Baldur's Gate 3 to make me laugh. From the gameplay perspective, from the player's perspective, there is nothing. Baldur's Gate 3 is a Netflix movie, Netflix TV show, a brainwashing agenda. while Wrath of the Righteous is actually a video game. cRPG. With everything, okay? Everything that you can imagine with combat, with Itemisation, with complexity, with things to do outside of the combat. Everything is on Wrath of the Righteous side, man. Everything. I'm comparing Wrath of the Righteous with Baldur's Gate 3 because a lot of people do, but it's a blasphemy to compare. But Baldur's Gate 3 should be compared with Divinity Original Sin. You can't even compare Baldur's Gate 3 with Pillars of Eternity 1. Pillars of Eternity 1 is 10 times better game because it's a proper cRPG. Baldur's Gate 3 is an agenda. Anyways, that will be 8-1 for Wrath of the Righteous. You are stumping. And the last part would be music and sound in both games. We got an epic, amazing songs in Wrath of the Righteous against epic and amazing songs in Baldur's Gate 3. My personal favorite is Wrath of the Righteous main theme compared to Baldur's Gate 3, but you're not wrong if you like Baldur's Gate 3 more. Music is absolutely great in both games. What goes to the side of Larian is again money. Every single line of text is voice acted, while you're gonna need to read something in Wrath of the Righteous. Like half of the game is voice acted. When there's voice acting is very solid in Wrath of the Righteous, but in Baldur's Gate 3 just pure quality. So I can say that Baldur's Gate 3 only wins in music and sound because more money equals more quality for music and sound. So that will be 8-2 for Wrath of the Righteous. That would be all categories in a game, by the way. 8-2 for Wrath of the Righteous. Not only that it wipes the floor with Baldur's Gate 3, Wrath of the Righteous is a game that happens once in 20 years, same like Baldur's Gate 2, so once in 20 years. Then you got great cRPGs to play. You got Wasteland 3 as a good turn-based cRPG, far better than Baldur's Gate 3. I mean it, it's more serious, okay? Jokes are more mature in Wasteland 3, for example. Then you got Pillars of Eternity 1 and 2 that are far better games than Baldur's Gate 3 is. Even Divinity Original Sin 1 and 2 from Larian are better than Baldur's Gate 3, or better to say Divinity Original Sin 3 from Larian. Larian got into politics, okay? If you fail to realize that, Larian is completely demonized right now, that's your problem. I can see through all of this shit, and I know what Larian has become. Larian is... Yes, Baldur's Gate 3 is a success. So is Coca-Cola. Yeah. So is McDonald's. Doesn't mean they're good. Combo of Coca-Cola and McDonald's, eh? Well, that's what Baldur's Gate 3 is in a cRPG. Coca-Cola and McDonald's. Everyone likes it, and you know it's not good. Success in terms of advertising, in terms of agenda, in terms of politics. With Baldur's Gate 3, complete failure. With soul, and with the gameplay. With a cRPG aspect. Complete failure. One thing that's absolutely great with Baldur's Gate 3, they made a lot of new people, okay? A lot of new casuals that might become cRPG fans, and once they stop playing Baldur's Gate 3, they're gonna start to discover Pillars, Dragon Age Origins, Neverwinter Nights, Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, Planescape Torment, Tyranny, Divinity, Wastelands, and at least 20 more cRPGs, including Pathfinders. So that's a very good thing that Baldur's Gate 3 did, new audience. But I can easily say it now, okay? Objectively speaking, the game is above average. Like, I rated it 6 out of 10. That's how I rated Baldur's Gate 3. My personal opinion about Baldur's Gate 3. Okay, if I wasn't objective, it's below mediocre. For me personally, that game is less than 4 out of 10. It's a disgusting abomination, unfinished abomination, that is. And it's an insult to compare Wrath of the Righteous with Baldur's Gate 3. It's even an insult to compare with Pillars 1. but that's another topic. Anyways, that would be my honest opinion about Baldur's Gate 3 and where it stands in a cRPG history. I wouldn't even put the game in top 10, to be honest, maybe top 20, somewhere on spot 15, 16. And that's if Larian fixes everything, okay? Everything, difficulty, balancing, items, Volkism, performance, glitches, bugs. There's like at least 2 more years of work for Baldur's Gate 3 to become good. And that's the reality. Anyways, that would be it for this video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I'll be seeing you on the next one. Thanks for watching.